Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to What is America to You? I'm your host, Derek Dempsey, and we're coming at you from a very windy and rainy New York. Look out the window here. And when I say we, I mean me and Jessica. So, thanks. Before we get to our next guest, thank you for the comments on, especially from Karen, my sister-in-law, and Sam in London. I think it's not London, it's England, somewhere in England. I always think London is England. Also, we got loads of thumbs up. We got, hundreds of people subscribing, but not yet to the billions that we wish to get to. And please keep on sharing the video. We really need it. We need to reach up to 500 and then 1,000 subscribers. Anyway, our next guest is singer, band leader, television presenter, songwriter, producer, and actress. She has been nominated for an Emmy for her composition on a beautiful lullaby composition, Moon and Back. She had 6 top 100 hits in the early to mid 80s, several of them breaking into the top 10, which led to her many appearances on Top of the Pops, where myself and my peers discovered her. And of course, Friday morning, we discussed how great she was and her amazing Beehive and how different she was. She also appeared with Boy George in the musical Taboo. And for me personally, she's one of the few people on the planet to sing the word plebeian in a song. And I'm hoping she maybe will cover the Man in the Looking Glass and be even in a smaller group of people who sing the word sacroiliac. But we'll find out that when we introduce you to her. She sang the theme song of Mike Newell's movie Dance with a Stranger and the theme song for sitcom Coupling, huge programme. Perhaps. She performed Dusty in Dusty the Musical, Dusty Springfield, and the one-woman musical she wrote and starred in, The Love Thing. She sang with Brian Ferry, Mark Almond, Boy George, Roy Wood, and has been closely associated with Stan Getz, Dave Stewart, B.B. King, and Ray Charles. However, for us today, the most important thing is that our next guest is our first female guest. Yeah, finally! So without further ado, we would like to introduce to you our next guest, Mary Wilson. Welcome to What is America to You? How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh,
yeah, great.
Pleasure to have you. An honour and a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now, as I was saying earlier on about Top of the Pops, I know you would have been somebody who watched Top of the Pops back in when you were a teenager. So to appear on Top of the Pops was a huge thing. And let me ask you, I read once George Michael said when he got to the studio, what struck him was how small the studio was. Was it really that small?
Yeah, it was quite small. Yeah. But it was all in the round, So there were usually, I think, about 3 bands on each stage. So one would be performing and the other 2 would be waiting to be cued because after they'd finished, you'd be on, And yeah, but it was so exciting. The first time I went on there, it was, I tell you, it was just fantastic. And also I just felt like, yeah, this is exactly what I had in mind. I've been planning this all my life. And I often think, well, if I hadn't made it as a singer, if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't be able to say that. But because I was, not long before it all happened, I was working in an office, we all had to make a living somehow. And I used to sit there thinking, well, this isn't right. What am I doing in front of a bloody typewriter? I'm meant to be on Top of the Pops. And then eventually it happened and you kind of get there and you think, yeah, this is exactly what I was expecting,
Almost like a destiny.
Yeah. I mean, because it was so, I suppose in America, Soul Train maybe, or what was the other one? Casey Kasem.
Oh, American Bandstand?
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it was so important. If you were on Top of the Pops, if you were on Top of the Pops, you pretty much know you've got a hit record. And to have a hit record then, now you've only got to sell 10 copies to get to number 1,
Don't start me on now.
I'm always telling the story of T-Rex Ride a White Swan, which sold 350,000 copies and only got to number 3.
Wow.
So it shows you the difference back then. That was before my time. That was the 70s. Mine was the 80s. But it just showed you had to sell a lot of records,
Yeah.
It's not quite the same now, but that's another story.
No, we may get to, because, as I say, don't get me started on today's music. As I said earlier, after Stock Aitken and Waterman, the Crimes, and then of course came what's his name, Simon Cowell. And maybe, I don't know whether you know Simon Cowell or not, but what he's.
No, I don't. Thank you.
Me neither. Thank you. I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I say he's finally done to his face what he did to music over the last 20 years. Absolutely destroyed it. But I want to say to you, Mary, that, and this is my fandom coming out here. I was in school at the time, so I would have been, 13, 14. When I was in school, I mostly was on the hop. I hated school. I would go on the bounce, or whatever they call it. But there were two friends I had in school, Mick Noble, who now lives in Australia, and Paddy McGee, who I don't know where he lives. But we would come in the next morning. Huh?
Paddy McGee, you couldn't make that up.
I know. I mean, I don't know how, but he was one of the happiest guys. He loved Buster Blood Vessel and all the scam music. So he naturally gravitated towards you and your image in the Beehive and the whole 60s girl band looks. The next morning he's like, oh man, she's gorgeous. He was crazy about you. Mick Noble loved the singer from Yazoo, Alison Moyet. So he related to you two. And I was just talking to him, telling him we were interviewing you, so he'd be listening here. So we were talking the next day in school about you. And I always find it funny that, here we are now, like, chatting on Skype years later. So it's a little bit of the fandom in me coming out. And I'll try to remain professional from here on in.
Oh, that's all right.
But, and you still look fabulous. You really do.
Well, thank you. It's makeup. It's makeup, Derek, basically. Makeup and not too much light on my face. That always works.
Me too. I use I have a bit of makeup on, covering me up. But okay, so I recently became an American citizen, and the reason why I say that to you is I bought your album Cover Stories, and I hadn't heard of its release, but through interviewing Ron Sexsmith, I was looking him up and I saw this cover, and I'm like, that's Mary Wilson covering it. Right about now, and I said this to you in an email. I love your phrasing. You're a real soul jazz phraser, and it's not by mistake you do these things. And I love that phrase where you go, and the wind is blowing its weight around. How you just sing it? Do you approach the phrasing in a song? Does it come naturally, or do you look at certain lyrics and approach them a certain way?
You know what? I think it just sort of comes naturally. But I have to say that and we may get to this later, but when I left the record industry, if you like, which was about 1986, I acquired a new agent who was a jazz agent. He was Ronnie Scott's agent, and he put all the bands on in Ronnie Scott's club. Ronnie Scott's for those who don't know, is a very famous jazz club in London. It's been there since 1957. And Ronnie Scott was still alive at the time and also working there a lot, and would introduce the band. He was hilarious. And he said, I did a couple of TV things, and a couple of people said to me when I sang, I had to sing a Sammy Kahn song, and when I did Cry Me a River and things like that, people said, you should do jazz. You're a bit of a jazz singer. And I've never really thought about it, because although I loved people like Peggy Lee and Frank Sinatra and stuff like that, and Julie London, of course, I wasn't aware that they were classed as jazz singers, because when I was young, all I was interested in was pop and soul. I didn't really know what jazz was. I thought it was people playing the saxophone and forgetting the tune and making it up. That's what I thought jazz was. So I had no idea. So he said, I'm going to put you on at Ronnie's. You're going to play opposite, which is the term they use, which is basically in pop, we call it the support act, for a New York sax player called Chico Freeman. And I started doing jazz, because the reason being was because I asked to be extricated from my recording contract, because I was very unhappy. I didn't want to be with them anymore. I needed to get away and start again, in a way. And I kind of did. And so the thing about jazz is it's about the performance, not the product. So jazz is all about playing live. The jazz artists obviously do make records, but it's mainly about the live performance. So I threw myself in at the deep end, and I was turning up at wine bars in London. And at the time, I was really very famous. And I look back and I think, God, I don't know how I had the nerve to do that. I was turning up in these wine bars where I knew a few musicians, and I'd get up and sing some standards, because I needed to learn how to sing these songs. You can't just suddenly go from pop and go, well, I'm going to be a jazz singer now. You've got to I had to sort of earn my chops, or learn my chops, or improve my chops being my talent, my singing, And so when you're singing a song like My Funny Valentine, it's not none of them are easy, uh, and also they're very different, because of the chord progressions and everything. Some of them can be very challenging, but also what's great about them is a song like My Funny Valentine. You can sing it different every single night if you like. It's like being on a big football pitch, and I'll kick the ball over there today. Now I'm going to kick it over there. Now I'm going to score a goal. It's kind of like that, and that's what I learned. And I learned more about lyrics and about expressing myself. And I found it. I'm not going to say I found it easy. I didn't find it easy. It was challenging, but it was. Um, I had a talent for it. I knew that I did. I was able to do that. And when you sing a song, and Bruce Springsteen says this about when he sings the songs that he writes, you become the actor in that song. So he'll be singing a song, and sometimes he's got a real twang of an accent, and it's not really his accent. He's using that accent to put across the song and what the song's about and who the person is who's singing it. And that person isn't Bruce. It's a character. And so you are a character when you sing, with parts of yourself in it, your own experiences, of a broken heart or loss or bereavement and things like that. But you're also the person acting out. So there's a lot of stuff going
Yeah.
on. But the phrasing, I think I was always quite good at it. But it was the jazz that really trained me. It was like I did it for like 10 years. I was playing at Ronnie's and doing jazz festivals and things, for 10 solid years. So I think that's a long answer to your question about right about now. But
it's the perfect length answer for many reasons, because you're talking my language there. And I say this, I've tried to get through one of the shows without mentioning Frank Sinatra. It's not going to happen today. To me, he's the god. And when you sing, and the wind is throwing its weight around, that's there's something in that just sounds right, and that blew me away when I heard it. I was in Saratoga, couldn't sleep because the next day I was being made a citizen, and I got up to go to the bathroom. I'm laughing because I'm so excited, and I'm listening to your whole album, and I'm listening to the other song, like "Don't Get Me Wrong," like. That's like a completely different song, how you do it. And Be My Baby.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's poetry. Her lyrics are fantastic. And it's the same with a lot of songs. When you, and I don't believe in this whole thing of slowing everything down, but sometimes, it becomes a bit more heartfelt and a bit more tender. I think, don't get me wrong, the way we did it. But on my latest album, which is called Pop Deluxe, I did a version of 24 Hours from Tulsa. Now, all the versions, because Dusty did it, that's why. But also Gene Pitney had a big hit with it. Lots of people have covered it, and it's always been very, very up-tempo and very happy. But if you listen to the lyrics, it's a really sad story. It's awful, actually, what this woman does to this guy. She basically is away, stops at the services on the motorway and shags somebody else, and then tries to leave her husband. That's basically what happens. But it's very sad. And when I play it live, I call it my Judi Dench moment, because we slowed it right down. I mean, it's really slow. And it's almost, I mean, I'm singing, but it's almost like I'm speaking. And when I perform it, people come up to me, and one of the most common things people say is, "Oh my God, I've never listened to the lyrics until now, until you sang it tonight." And I thought, God, what a shame, really, that. And it's, I mean, it is written by, of course, somebody called Burt Bacharach, which is
some guy, some kind of unknown songwriter, yeah.
Been married 48 times, yeah. But so it's quite interesting. I write as well, but I think you can only become a good writer if you've sung lots of other great writers' songs. That's how you learn to write yourself, And so Don't Get Me Wrong and Be My Baby as well. Because I've always thought, if you're going to cover a song, don't do it the way it was done before. You can go and buy that one. In fact, I got really annoyed with Phil Collins when he did You Can't Hurry Love. Because I thought, He's done it exactly the same way as the Supremes, because what happens is it interferes with your memory. So now I can't really hear You Can't Hurry Love by the Supremes because it reminds me of Phil Collins.
Right.
Do you see what I mean? Whereas if you
100%.
completely differently, then that one is safe. You know, the original is safe, and people either like what you've done with it or they don't. But at least you're not ruining the original, hopefully, for people. You know.
I agree with you. I agree, Mary. It's like with when people do biopic movies. The best one I've seen in a long time is we had. Oh shit! No, real. It was inevitable. All right, so we just decided, you know, we're gonna go with that. What you just saw, the power outage that Jessica called. She said we might have a power outage today. She was right. We did, but you know what we thought about? Will we seam it and mix it together and try to hide it? No. We said, let's just show it as it is, because we think it's brilliant and we think it's funny.
That's what happens when you have a show right in the middle of a huge windstorm.
Exactly, which you could probably hear. I think you could hear the rain. So we spoke to Mary, and this is now the next day, and we decided, let's wear the same clothes and pretend it's the same interview, even though we're telling you it's not, but it is. Anyway, thanks for tuning into part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. Okay, Mary, we're back on, and as you can see, for anybody who's seen part 1, we ended with me saying, oh shit, the light's gone off, we lost Mary. So we set it up to have part 2. And here we are, just by fluke, wearing the same clothes. That's just magic.
Yeah, it's spooky, isn't it?
It is. And look, you're matching with your sofa, your throw pillows, your necklace, the Barbara Stanwyck poster.
It's ridiculous. There's 2 red lights over there as well. They're not advertising anything, though. I'd like Wow.
Well, I think I got a little bit of orange that could kind of be a little bit matching with you, so.
Isn't that a red curtain behind you?
That's the truth. It is. You're right.
That's cool.
So we were talking about Phil Collins doing You Can't Hurry Love, and you were saying how safe that was. The song, and because I had talked about your album, a particular album that I just think is an absolute gem. And I was going to say to you yesterday, Doris Day had an album called My Heart, and it was a mix of a lot of stuff that came out later on in her life, and she ended up at the top of the charts when she was 88. Are you in any way like a fan of Doris Day?
Yes, totally. Beautiful voice, great singer. I mean, she, you know, it's that triple threat, isn't it? She could dance and she could sing and she could act, you know. I think she had a beautiful voice. And I know when she did, I think it was in an interview, I think it was Secret Love. I'm sure it was. And whoever was producing it or did the arrangement or whoever really didn't want her to sing it, because he said, well, she's not really a proper singer because she can't read music. Hey? Paul McCartney can't read music, you know. Danny Elfman can't read music. And he's written blooming film scores, you know. Anyway, so it made her feel very insecure about singing it, you know. But of course, we all know what a fantastic job she did.
Unbelievable.
No, I am a fan. Well, because I covered Perhaps. I did it for a TV show originally, and then it became this big sort of song of mine here, you know. So that when I haven't done it in concert for quite a while actually, but you know, it's in America especially because it was used for a TV show called Coupling. And which was shown on BBC America, so I get a lot of downloads from America, you know. So yeah, Doris Day, fantastic. I mean, top of the charts at 88. That's all right, isn't it?
Unreal. And Sarah Vaughan is one of my favourite singers of all time, and I know that you love her. And she said, "What do you think of?" Somebody asked her what you think of Doris Day, and she said, "I dig Doris Day." What a compliment from one of the greatest singers ever. And what you said about not reading music, Bowie didn't read music, Sinatra didn't read music. That's a snob attitude for
yeah, it totally is, you know. And I mean, singers, you know, Peggy Lee, who I'm a massive fan of, she had a very quiet voice. And I don't know if you've read, there's a great, what's his name, Gavin, I think his name's Chris Gavin. Who wrote a book about Peggy Lee, which is brilliant, because I read her book. It was rubbish. It was basically, and then I made a cup of tea. I mean, it was so boring. His book was fantastic. And when she first started, and she was playing with Benny Goodman, was it?
I think so.
You know, her first chance to get up and sing in these clubs, and she was in this supper club, as they were called. I wish they still existed. That's my street. Supper club. I'm playing at a supper club, and she realised that she couldn't compete with people like Sarah Vaughan, who had these powerhouse voices, you know. And I haven't got a particularly loud singing voice either, not really. And so she decided she would just stick to her quiet voice, because what happened was everyone had to lean in and stop talking and, you know, using their knives and forks. They had to lean in to listen to her. And I thought, oh, how clever is that, you know? Because she that's what's so fantastic about it. I mean, one of my favourite songs is The Folks Who Live on the Hill, which will arrangement by Nelson Riddle and conducted by Frank Sinatra. I mean, you can't get better than that.
Exactly. Listen, don't get me started, as I said, on Sinatra, Nelson Riddle, the Great American Songbook. Everybody that's been on the show, we always talk about the Great American Songbook. And you know, as you said in the first part of the interview, they're not easy songs to sing. There's modulations going on within those songs. Like My Funny Valentine you mentioned yesterday. The second half of that, they start off in the harmony. I think it's a third of, like, you know, they start My Funny Valentine, by the second time, Your Lips Are Laughable. Genius songwriters. And you mentioned Folks Who Live on the Hill.
Oh, it's an amazing song. I mean, I do sing it quite often. And even when I'm singing it, I get upset because it's so, you know, it's this nirvana that she's singing about that we're all aiming for, in a way, aren't we? To live in this house, you know, our veranda will command a view. I mean, what a rhyming couplet that is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mary, my wife and I live in a hill. It's not paradise.
No, oh well. It's close to it, though, isn't it?
Well, we have a lot of paradise moments. I have a wonderful wife. She's one of the kindest, sweetest, most honest people you meet. Sometimes we want to kill each other, but that's marriage, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but I wanted one other thing that you said earlier about, Peggy Lee, her version of Pass Me By. I don't know if you've ever heard that. Pass me by, pass me by, pass me by. She does the fourth. Right. She does the first half, like you made a really funny comment yesterday. I thought jazz was people who forgot the melody. Brilliant. That's brilliant. But she does it, and she does it straight. And then the band do boom, boom. They swing it, and her phrasing would blow your mind.
Her phrasing is second to none. And I have a vinyl album of hers called Latin a la Lee. And she does a version of Lover. And it's all Latin, and the percussion and the drums, it's insane with her lovely soft, you know, lover when you're near me, da, 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 you know, and there's this madness going on in the background, you know. It's,
you're talking my drug, Mary. This is my drug you're talking. And to hear you singing, I always say that a person singing in a room, you don't need reverb. Do you use reverb in your voice?
Only a tiny bit. Not. I mean, the 80s was Reverb City, wasn't it? But not so much. I mean, when I was doing Ronnie's and places like that, no one really uses any reverb in jazz. But so I think a tiny bit is quite nice, but not to the points of you know, things like what was that awful song? Oh, I shouldn't say that really. What was Jennifer Rush, Because I Am Your Lady. You are dreadful record in my
Mary, I actually liked it.
You sound like in a cave, you know.
Yeah, the reverb was horrible, but your voice just there singing, that was a treat, because you can sing. It just as my parents said when I was 14, oh, she can sing, and she's singing Cry Me a River. Not an easy song, but listen, I'm pushing us into a self-indulgent singer's corner, so let me pull us back out for a minute, because I could talk forever about singers. I want to ask you about your name. Your name, Mary Macmillan Ramsey Wilson. Now, that sounded like you should have been either a leading politician, but you're too honest and nice to be, or the queen of some huge kingdom.
Well, I am the Neasden Queen of Soul, but Neasden's a tiny place, so there's not much competition, really. But I am known as the Neasden Queen of Soul. And for those in America who don't know where Neasden is, it's North London, and it's just a tiny place with a few shops. I mean, I don't even know why it's actually got a name, but there you go. But my name, my parents were Scottish, all my family is Scottish, but my dad came down to London when he was 17 looking for work, just before the Second World War, and got a job at London Transport, and him and my mum moved down, and so I was born in Neasden to Scottish parents. And one of the things they do in Scotland, or used to do, so Mary is a very Scottish name. I mean, there's a well-known song, all for Mary's wedding, heel for heel and toe for toe, da 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 da, all for Mary's wedding. So that's the Mary, very Scottish, although spelt in a very simple way, because they felt if they spelt it in the Scottish Gaelic way, no one would ever get it right. But actually, in a way, it would have been better if they did, because if I meet someone at a party, say, and I say, "Hi, I'm Mary," they go, "Oh, you mean Marie?" Like I don't know my own name. Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, you mean Marie? No. Anyway, so Mary, because it's a bit unusual. So, or they say Mari. No, Mary. Rhymes with Harry. So Macmillan Ramsey, Wilson obviously is my father's name, and Macmillan was my father's mother's maiden name, and Ramsey was my mother's maiden name, and that's what. But it sounds posh, doesn't it? If only
very posh.
And no bathroom. We had a tin bath, so we weren't very posh. But
well, we weren't either. When you said about Macmillan and Ramsey, I think are two names of prime ministers as well. That's why I think it was in my head.
And Wilson, too.
And Wilson as well. Jesus, you are.
Harold Wilson.
Yeah. There was something you said then I was going to bounce off, and I can't remember what it was, so I won't waste time. I want to quote you on something you said that I love. I know there are courses at university, but no one taught me about singing. You can either do it or you can't, which I agree with. I do think sometimes with shows like X Factor, it's all about volume. I've been able to hold a note for half an hour, and that's not singing. Listen to Dusty Springfield or Karen Carpenter. They did neither of those things. It's about telling a story or creating a mood and making someone feel something. I love that for many reasons. And when you mentioned X Factor, I made a comment yesterday about Simon Cowell doing to his face what he did to music, completely destroying it, only quicker. I do believe that the last 20 years, there has been a poison put into the well of, as you said yesterday, or should I say in part one of the interview, in pop music. Do you think that we're recovering from that maybe at the moment?
I think, funnily enough, I think that the COVID thing is going to have a really amazing effect on music, because it's usually, a war or something happens, because it has or had become a bit like what pop music was a bit like in the 50s, a bit throwaway doo-woppy. That, although it was all new and everything, it was all a bit, ankle socks and flared skirts and things like that. It was all a little bit throwaway, and only it's got much more massive. I mean, when I started, my brother's also a musician. He's 6 years older than me, so he was already in bands in the 70s. But it was very unusual if that was your job. You didn't meet people that were in bands. It was an unusual career. And it was a vocation, really. And I think when I was at school, say in the 60s, if the teacher had said to the class, "What do you all want to be when you grow up?" I think maybe one person would have said they wanted to be a musician. The rest would have been astronaut, nurse, doctor, racing driver, that kind of train driver. Kind
Pilot.
Of now, I think if you went into a classroom now and said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" there would be a lot of them would say famous.
Yes.
Or they want to be a singer, but kind of meaning the same thing. And I think that's what a lot of these shows, it's made it very dangerous, because people, they don't really know what they're wishing for. That whole thing about be careful what you're wishing for. Because fame is not, well, it's, cracked up to be. You've got to be a pretty strong person to cope with it, I think. Look at Amy Winehouse,
yep.
Who really just wanted to be a jazz singer, but she couldn't cope with it, And so I think it's a bit of a shame, but I think, but having said that, there is all that stuff, but there's still great music going on. It's just that they don't really, you have to look for it, It's not so readily available. And of course, because of music becoming more important as a live medium, because it used to be just selling records, and so you would do a tour to advertise your album. But now the album is to advertise your tour, because it's all about playing live. But what COVID has done, now we can't play live. At least we haven't, a year of not being able to do concerts. So I'm wondering if, because people have sort of got more in touch with nature and family and the things that are really important, as opposed to materialistic things, I hope. So I think for those reasons, we may be coming out of it. Maybe people are going to start writing about more important things. And it's a shame that pop music has become about not only fame, but having a ridiculous amount of money, a ridiculous amount. Like the Kanyes and the, I mean, I think Beyonce is very talented, don't get me wrong, but her and her husband are worth over $1 billion.
What's that?
Really? Who needs a Beyonce?
Oh, yeah.
Who needs $1 billion?
Yeah, it's
really?
Look, we as you said about Amy Winehouse, she was a very gentle soul. It seemed like she was so strong in one way, and in the other way she was so fragile. And I look at pictures of you, especially now as a grown up and much older than I was when I first saw you, and I see this look in your eyes, and it's like I get this feeling you might have been a punk, as in a British punk in the late 70s for a while. Are you
I wasn't, because I was too old really to be a
right.
punk. Too old. I was quite an old pop star, really. I wasn't 18 or 20. Right. I was about 26.
Oh, I didn't know that. But you had this look in your eyes of almost, honestly, like, don't even think about fucking with me. You had that look in your eyes.
Oh, well, that part of my personality, I think I've kind of tamed it somewhat. But I was like that. I was like that at school. My best friend always used to say, well, the first time I saw Mary, she was coming down the corridor, and my friend said, oh, look, here comes Mary Wilson. Oh, it was like, oh my God, was that really my reputation? I think I was a bit cocky, and I was a bit cocky when I became a pop star as well. I have to, because I think that was my defense mechanism, actually, trying to be a bit, don't mess with me kind of thing. But that's what was going on inside. It was a front, really.
Right, but Mary, I don't want you to get me wrong. I love that. I mean, I got 2 daughters and I raised them to be very powerful women. I'm a feminist, and I'm an unashamed feminist, and women have been through so much shit. Not to get into that too heavy, but they have been. The crap these have gone through in this world and continue to. And we're big into all human rights. Like, you got a pulse and a heartbeat, you deserve 100% rights. And the whole idea of giving rights, hang on a second, what's that giving? What the fuck you doing taking it away? So when I see a woman like that, I think, brilliant. I love to see that. And I see that in your early pictures. And even though you said you were 28, I thought you were 22, I think you're 28 now. But
when I was 22. That was the thing. I think we all lied about our age. But then I thought, as I got older, I thought, if I now say, because I turned 66 in September, if I now say I'm 62, say, and they see me, they're going to go, blimey, she looks rough for 62. But if I tell they might think I'm 64. So,
right. Well, I'm 52, and I never tell anybody the day of my birthday. I don't celebrate my birthday. I hate all that crazy attention, which people say, well, we're on stage all the time. It's a different type of thing. Like, I was born, so what? Tell my mother she was amazing. But the year I was born was 68. It is what it is. But anyway, I wanted to. We're gonna try to wrap it up and get to the Proust questionnaire. I always pronounce that wrong. And I want to look up Tracy Bennett, and I want to send you a couple of things as well from what we talked about. I got to get that album of Peggy Lee, Lia Latin. What's it called again?
Latin a la Lee. It's called.
Brilliant. I wanted to also compliment Simon Hale on his. He's a great accompanist.
Oh my God. I mean, you wouldn't believe the stuff that he's done. He has become an amazing string arranger. And when we made that album, he wasn't in my band or playing piano anymore. He's done all the Jamiroquai albums. He's done, what's her name? Mary J. Blige. She just did her album a couple of years ago. But he's also done some great musicals. So he did Spring Awakening. He did all the music for that. There's a show called Girl from the North Country, which I think was about to open in New York.
It did.
Which uses all of Bob Dylan songs. He did that. He did all the arrangements for that. He's kind of gone whoosh. He's very, very talented, and he has quite an unusual way of playing piano. And when you watch him play, he's totally, you know, and he's not a diva type of person at all. But when he's playing, you can see he's feeling every minute, you know. And we did it at his studio, actually, out in the country. So yeah, he's very talented, Simon. Yeah.
I can hear him, especially on the Right About Now song, the Ron Sexsmith song, and you come to the last part and you go a cappella for a second. So you sing, and I'm up here writing this song. And he comes in exactly. There's nowhere else he could have come in correctly. And he bounced off you. He wasn't playing for himself. He was bouncing off you lead. You're the singer, you're leading.
Yeah, well, that's a great piano player, you know, any musician. You got to listen to the singer, you know. Don't get in the way.
Yeah, and the fact that we're gorgeous looking as well helps, you know.
Well, there is that, yes. Yeah, well, I am anyway. Yeah.
You're dead right. Okay, so I wanted to ask you one other thing, and then we did speak about your last album, didn't we? Yeah, in the last interview.
No, we didn't.
Let's talk about that. And maybe we can roll in. I know that you have male influences, and I think a proper singer and a proper artist is in touch with both sides of the personality, the masculine and the feminine, and also they take from the opposite sex singers. And you mentioned Marvin Gaye and John Lennon. So if we can roll that into your last album, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay. Well, my last album is called Pop Deluxe, and that came out in 2016, and I've been touring it ever since because it's been quite successful, really. It came about because I played Dusty Springfield in a musical called Dusty the Musical. It took them hours to come up with that, and so I did that. And people kept saying to me, "When are you going to do a concert of Dusty songs?" You know, and I said, "Oh God, that's really." Those are big shoes to fill, you know what I mean? It's like, who am I to think I can go out and sing Dusty Springfield songs? And so I thought, okay, so I booked a few gigs and we did a few gigs and they kept selling out. And I thought, oh my God, people really, they want to hear those songs, you know? And so there was never any intention to make an album, but we did. But we tried to make it very different from hers. And it became not just Dusty. I was sitting down with a friend of mine who used to be an A&R guy, lovely guy. And he said, well, why don't you not just do Dusty, but do other singers like Petula Clark, Cilla Black, Sandy Shaw? And I thought, yeah, that's a really good idea. Because the problem with, there's so many ballads. There's so, and I didn't want to do Son of a Preacher Man. I didn't, because it's done to death. And I thought, okay, so I did all those four singers, but I did it with Alistair Gavin, who's the keyboard player, was in the World Stations, who lives up the road, and we work together all the time, and he's a bit of an electronics kind of geek, you know, kind of thing. So we made it, I think, much more contemporary, and we completely changed a lot of the songs, and it was great. It was really interesting. I mean, when we did "You're My World," which is a song that Cilla Black did. It's got these strings in it. And so it's the arrangement is really easily recognizable. And I thought, well, how are we going to make this any good without doing that? We spent days, and then I went round and I said, I've got it, I'm going to do it like a blues. I thought, yeah, that'll work. So it was all that, you know. So, but it's interesting because I'm probably more, I mean, I was influenced by Dusty, and I was very much influenced by Diana Ross. I think she's not given enough credit as a singer. She's a really good singer. She doesn't have a powerful voice or anything, but she has a distinctive voice. And I think that's what's important, is to have a distinctive, so that you hear two notes and you know who it is. That's what Amy Winehouse had. That's what Dusty had. All of those singers from back then, you know. And even people that might not be the best singer in the world, look at Bob Dylan, you know. I mean, you hear him, you know it's him. Some people would say, unfortunately, but you know, I love his latest album though. I think it's great. But I was mainly influenced probably by John Lennon and Paul McCartney, but especially John Lennon, because he was like a soul singer to me. He was always the one that I would sort of try and sing like or imitate. And then, of course, Marvin Gaye. And then people like the OJs, the whole Sound of Philadelphia thing was a massive influence, you know, Teddy Pendergrass and all that. So I think that's why I ended up being a soul singer, if you like, in the old sense. Because also I went to New York when I was 18 and I became a nanny and I was there for 2.5 years. And so I would go to clubs. We lived on Long Island. I went to clubs all the time, heard all this great new music. It's the first time I heard Barry White was when I was, it was 1973. I was 18 years old and I heard Barry White and I thought, what is this? It was because it hadn't come over here yet, you know. In fact, the first song I heard was Under the Influence of Love by Love Unlimited, who were the 3 girls that sang with him. He was married to one of them. And if you ever get a chance to listen to Under the Influence of Love, it's like epic. It's like a film, you know.
Yeah.
And I heard it in a club. I made some friends. I went to meet them in this club called St. James Infirmary, which was in North Babylon, I think, on Long Island. And I got there first and I went and sat at the bar and this record came on and I was like, oh my God, I've never heard anything like it. You know, I still play it now. I love it. So yeah.
I gotta get a copy of that. Okay, guys, thanks for sticking with us for part 1 and 2. We had no power outages in part 2. Let's see what happens in part 3. Stay tuned. Every singer that you've mentioned in this interview, they all have one thing in common, which is I demand in a singer. Otherwise, and I can hear it straight away in 3 notes. Honesty. And it's not that you say, I'm going to be honest. You either are honest or you can't. And I'm not a big fan of Michael Bublé. And the reason why is when I hear him singing, what I hear is, listen to me. I'm amazing. Am I just amazing? Aren't you lucky to hear this beautiful voice? I'm sure he's a nice guy. As a matter of fact, I don't think he probably is. But
you.
What?
Loves you.
He's probably at home crying now. He's giving out about me. I have to count my $8 million. I'm playing to 60,000 people. But you're so you're honest as a singer, and that's what grabs me. It grabs me. I don't care how brilliant the singer sounds, how like Christina Aguilera, whoever. If they don't have that vocation, as you say, it's not going to happen. John Lennon kills me when he sings Angela. Or he sings Love, or he sings one of the greatest, most honest lyrics ever written for me, Mary, is Mother, you had me, I never had you. Who would write a lyric like that? Only John Lennon. Incredible.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Right. You're right, yeah.
we could talk about singers, but I want to make a little confession. I said I have heard the Pop Deluxe album, but the reason why I didn't say I heard it was I didn't buy it. And when I listen to albums on YouTube, I buy them then, because being a musician, and I hate Spotify. So I do know the album, and I love that there's a lot of dissonance going on in that album, which I love, which I think is your jazz. I've listened to the album on YouTube twice, and I always feel like a cheat doing that. But for the record, for the people listening, I buy the album then. I'm unemployed at the moment.
The album, I think what this album did, it encompasses everything I've done. So it encompasses pop, soul, and jazz, and it's a real mishmash of the whole thing. And that's how it's come out like that, you know. But now it's time for me to write again, because that was a covers album, and so was the one before, actually, a completely different type of album. But now it's time, and so I've been writing some new stuff because I don't want to keep doing covers. You know, it's great, but you know.
Yeah, well, you know, Elvis and Sinatra did covers, and someone like Michael Jackson didn't do that many originals. And I think it's great to be able to do both, and you do both so well. Some people just can't do covers; they just don't know how to. You know. Really quick before we get to the Proust question here, do you write on piano or guitar?
I'm not very good on either, if I'm honest with you. I play a bit of guitar. I'm not very good on piano. I usually what happens with me is lyrics and melodies come out at the same time, usually. And then I call Alistair or Richard Cottle, my current keyboard player, or whoever, or Matt Backer, my guitarist, and I say, "Oh, come round, I've got this thing. Do you want to write a song with me?" And that's kind of how I do it. Is, I'll sing it into my phone, and then I'll leave it, and I'll come back to it. And that's usually how it happens. Or it starts from scratch with one of my musicians.
Right. And once you get there, that's all that matters. Once you get the songs and you've gotten the songs, like Moon and Back is an absolute beauty. It's almost like Mozartian. If Mozart did write "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," it's got that feel to it. It's just
Well, actually, I did write that on my own. Funnily
fucking
enough,
brilliant.
that's the weird thing, because my husband was the producer of The Young and the Restless for 3 years in America, because we've got a place in America in LA. That's where he is now. Funnily enough, and I was over there with him, and I was going back the next day to here, and he said, I don't suppose, do you think you could write a song? It's the storyline is about this old lady in the show who's got Alzheimer's, and we need like a song that she used to sing to her children. So it's got to sound slightly old-fashioned, blah, blah, blah. He said, something like "K Sarah Sarah." I said, oh, no pressure then. That one, how many? I was arriving back in London on the Thursday, and I said, well, when do you need it by? He said, Friday. I said, wait a minute. So, but it's weird when you've got a deadline, something happens and you just go. And I remember I sat exactly where I'm sitting now. I sat here with my phone and I thought, right. And we talked about titles and stuff, and came up with Moon and Back. And I just kind of did it. It was quite odd, really. I mean, I did go to the piano a bit, but I'm not very good. My daughter's great. She plays piano and guitar and sings, So that's unusual. I did write that one on my own, and then I got the MD at the Young and the Restless to step in and help me with the middle eight.
Right. Well, it's a beautiful melody. And we lead. You're in good company, because Nelson Riddle was writing the chart for "I Got You Under My Skin" as his wife was driving into the studio to record that classic of ever. So you're in good company. So listen, as you can tell, I'm Irish and we're both Celtic. We could talk forever. And the fact that we're talking about singing and music, but I know we have to eventually stop. So why don't we get to the Proust questionnaire?
Okay.
Give it a go.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just start with the first one. Okay, Mary Wilson, what is your idea of perfect happiness?
Right. Well, I don't know what your other guests have been like, but it's quite a hard question to answer, isn't it? Because there's lots of things. So I've got a few. So one of them is probably playing with my band to a full house with my big band, and just for that thing that's in the air that happens sometimes that is just so special. In fact, when I played in New York in 1983, I played at oh my God, what was the name of the venue? Of course, I can't remember now. But the Palace? No. Oh, I can't remember. But anyway, that was one of those gigs. It was just like very special. And I did one at Wilton's Music Hall last year, which was also very special. So that is perfect happiness. Disneyland with my husband and my daughter, because we're Disney freaks. There's Disney everywhere in our house. We just absolutely love it. So it's sad we haven't been there this year.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, Tuesday mornings when I bring in the bins, there's something about that. The bins have been emptied and I put them back. It makes me really happy. Because I think, I've got to put the bins out. And then Tuesday, I bring them in and it's like, yeah, the bins are emptied. I've got no idea why, but it makes me very happy.
That might be quote of the interview.
Could be. Yeah.
Brilliant. And there's many great quotes. Yeah. Okay, Mary, what is your greatest achievement?
Well, apart from the obvious, my daughter, and my marriage, actually, and my lovely husband, I would say it's getting to the age of 66 with type 1 diabetes, because I've had it for 42 years. I've been on insulin. And so I'm still okay. I haven't gone blind. I haven't lost any limbs. So far, so good. So I think that's an achievement, really.
Brilliant. I can't even respond to that. I don't know what I would say that would make any sense except holy fuck.
Yes, I know. I remember when I did go to New York to do a press stuff, and I sat at this table with all these journalists, and they all kept saying to me, "How can you tour? How can you do this having type 1 diabetes?" And it's like I thought, how can I not? It never really occurred to me. But yeah, when I first got it, I had to really educate myself about it, and so I keep very fit. I do a lot of exercise and stuff, and eat healthily, and I'm still here.
Brilliant.
So that's my achievement.
And still looking fantastic. What is your greatest extravagance? What's your greatest extravagance, Mary?
Clothes, without doubt.
I
Clothes.
love it. What is your current state of mind?
Optimistic.
I was going to say,
I'm optimistic about the virus going away, and about, I think maybe people are going to be nicer and kinder and all that, maybe. And also a certain person, and certain orange person has.
do you know what's funny, Mary? We're all wearing a form of orange right now. Jessica has an orange top on. You're kind of orange red, and I've got orange. How crazy is that?
It's actually red.
Is it red? I'm colourblind.
Yes, it is red. I didn't like to say, but yeah.
I always get orange and red mixed up as well. What do you consider the most overrated virtue?
Celebrity and fame. We sort of touched on it a bit earlier, but I think people have become a bit obsessed with it. And it's, I hate it when people say to me, oh, we're looking for some celebrities and we thought you might like. I'm not a celebrity. I don't want to be called a celebrity. You wouldn't call Debbie Harry or Chrissy Hind a celebrity. Not that I'm comparing myself with them, goodness. But, that I aspire to being like them. I don't want to be a celebrity. What is that? What is Kim Kardashian? What actually is she? What does she do?
I know. Nothing.
So I don't even. It's not a virtue, is it? But
Yeah.
That's all I could think.
Okay, it works. What is the quality you most like in a person?
Kindness.
I love it.
Yeah.
Just like Ron. Ron is one of the kindest people you ever talk to, right?
Oh, lovely. Isn't he lovely? Yeah.
Which words or phrases do you most overuse?
Blimey. I'm always going, oh, blimey. and Mal is always saying that I'm stuck in 1957, because I'll say things like, shut your cake hole. I tell you what was really funny. We were at the Hollywood Bowl to see The Sound of Music, right? And this big thing came up. There was me and my husband and my daughter. This big thing came up saying who was in it. And it said Maria is going to be played by Kay Cole. Of course, we just got hysterical. Kay Cole, she can never have a career in England. Kay Cole. And all the Americans were looking at her, what's the matter? But I just thought, Kay Cole, So I say, look at me, I'm in the Nash. You like me, Nashers? Al says I'm just basically stuck in 1957 in a Carry On film or something, But blimey, yeah.
To recover me Nashers. I say that to my wife and daughter are American. But I'll say on me, the Nashers in your one, whatever. The bleeding Nashers in your one, the head in your man.
Yeah. Brilliant.
What do you most value in your friends, Mary?
Loyalty.
I love you. I don't even know you and I love you. Which historical figure do you most identify with?
Well, this was a hard one. So I've chosen Marie Antoinette because we had very similar hairdos. If anyone knows Marie Antoinette, she had these massive wigs,
Right.
Although it's a wig, but yeah. So Marie Antoinette, let's go with
Okay,
her.
we'll just keep the head. Yeah, definitely we got to do that. Yeah. Okay, so our last question, Mary, is the name of our show. Mary Wilson, what is America to you?
Okay, America is it's full of colour and sunshine and big refrigerators. And as a kid, what America is to me is watching Dick Van Dyke, Mary Tyler Moore, and looking at and the monkeys, and just looking at the houses and thinking, oh my God, there's so much sunshine and colour, and people have got swimming pools. And post-war Britain was grim, man. It was grim. I mean, I grew up with an outside toilet and a tin bath, and we would have a bath once a week. I mean, for God's sake, when we were little. I mean, not when I was 28. And so America was so different, and I kind of long to go there. And at the age of 18, I did go there. I was a nanny to 3 girls, and I'm still in touch with all of them, which is great. And I couldn't, and I lived on Long Island in this massive house with a swimming pool, and it was so different. It was so different. You know, the first time they said to me, "Oh, we're going to have lobster tonight." You know, what? Lobster? Is that the same as sardines on toast? No. It's very different, and it means opportunity. You know, Great Britain tends to kind of discourage you from getting above yourself. You know, I mean, I think America, the problem is race, and the UK, the problem is class, because class still exists, and you've got to know your place. And so if you start to get quite successful, you're pushed down a bit, really. You know, don't get too successful. Whereas in America, it's like, great, you're successful. You know, so I like that, and probably Disneyland. Well, when it first opened, when I was a nanny, we went.
All right.
So Disney's always been in my life, you know.
Is that why you did Disney Girls, or was it just the fact that you loved the song?
Oh no, I just love the song because, you know, the Beach Boys, you know, that's America, isn't it? The Beach Boys, the Four Seasons, you know. I mean, I went to see Frankie Valli a couple of years ago. They had so many hits, and every song I was like, I was in absolute heaven. Those songs, my God, those songs, and his voice.
Yeah, and the drummer is incredible. And listen, what you said about the UK and America, I'm the same. Ireland is like, who do you think get back down? America is like, oh my God, you're amazing. Come on, here's a gig. Come to my house. Yeah. Speaking of American houses, when we interviewed Ron, I know you and Ron are friends, I extended an invite that if he ever comes down to New York, which he plans to do after COVID, we have a very big house. The kids are mostly gone. And we have many spare bedrooms. So if you were ever over with Mal and your daughter, you're welcome to come stay at our house. Save you.
Oh, very kind.
We'd love to have you.
Thank you.
We're talking music all night. We have a billiard table, so you can play some billiards. Would you imagine if you and Ron came at the same time? That'd be like ridiculous.
I'd love to sing with him. I haven't sung with him. I'd love to sing with him. I think it would be, you know, really, really great, actually. She says. Very modest.
Let's make that happen. You and Ron doing a duet. Let's think of one.
I'd have to bring the cameras over.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah, Jessica bring the cameras over. But listen, Mary, believe me, it's not because I don't want to speak. I would speak to you for hours. You know, it's just you're funny as fucking all hell. Let me tell you that.
It can be amusing.
Yeah, brilliant. So I can't thank you enough. And it's been a great pleasure to meet you after all these years. Never thought I'd meet you or talk to you or anything. You know, Mary Wilson.
Right, very nice to meet you. I want to hear your music now.
Yeah, I'll send you some stuff, but you know,
something. Yeah.
I can hear somebody saying it's shite.
The intro song you wrote.
Oh yeah, I wrote the intro song, but I'll send you. I actually did a duet with my daughter. I wrote a Christmas song, and she sang. My daughter's an amazing singer. I'm not one of those parents that goes, "My daughter's amazing." And you're like, what? Her like. Anyway, we forget about that. I'll send you some stuff.
Good for her. That's
great. And she's an incredible human being, and all you said about kindness and stuff. That's the key. Kindness and like I don't understand racism, homophobia, all those things. I mean, I want to pull my brain out and throw it on the ground and go, I'm done when people get like that, and it has to change. Now we could talk forever about that, but it has got to change. It has to, and maybe this COVID will be a kickstart for us on that. You know.
This whole year, you know, the whole Black Lives Matter and everything, and the you know, we've come a long way with gay people as well, having children and being accepted, and trans people, and we're really, you know, and we're still in this sort of transition, aren't we? So I mean, probably when I'm long gone, you know, 30 years time or something, it's going to be a completely and I hope it'll be a completely different world, you know. And also America's enormous, isn't it? Enormous.
Oh, it's like 50 different countries in one thing. I'll leave you with this. I'm trying to get this thing going about a World Day of Apology. And I'll send you an email about it. I'm trying to get a movement going where we just basically, on behalf of our ancestors, we apologise for what we've done to the minority groups, gays, transgenders, women, whatever. Just something. I think we need something like that. And, you know, we don't know what the future holds. And many great things have happened in the world, but we're constantly fighting bad. But listen, Mary, if I get into that now, we will be here longer than we would be if we talked about singing.
Yes, I've got to eat at some point, so yeah.
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, Mary Wilson, thank you for appearing on What is America to You from me and Jessica. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Had a good
You
time.
too. Bye for now.
Yeah.
Well, what can I say? That was the great Mary Wilson. Great personality, beautiful. As somebody said, she was foxy, and I think she really is. And we had a great chat afterwards for about half an hour, right?
Yeah, she's a wonderful person and
Yeah.
beautiful and
Yep.
kind.
The more you, and I said to her, and we both agreed, and I'm sure you saw this watching it, it was like talking to an aunt or a cousin or somebody that was friends since you were a kid down the road. It was unbelievable. So listen, guys, thank you for tuning in. We got some great interviews coming up with the great Kathy McGuire, Irish singer, with an incredible resume, and of course the great Don McLean coming up sometime in the next month. We all know who Don McLean is, if you don't need to say. American Pie, just like our show, has the word American in it. So listen, thanks a lot from us here, me and Jessica. And What is America to You? Goodbye for now.
Driving along, minding my own business, heading east through the Kentucky rain. There on the radio, Johnny Cash was singing. I hurt myself just to see if I still feel pain.